Everyone says that Houston is one of the most affordable big cities in America, and technically that's true. But what most people don't realize is that two families can move to Houston and have completely different financial experiences. One ends up saving thousands every year, while the other quietly spends more money than they ever expected. And the difference usually comes down to three costs that most relocation buyers never even think about before they move here. My name's Priddy. I'm a Houston area realtor, and in this video, we're going to break down what it actually costs to live in Houston in 2026, and whether buying right now makes sense or if waiting could be the smarter financial move. If you want more clarification on which option is the smarter choice for you, shoot me a text. Let's start with the numbers that most people look at first: home prices. According to the January 2026 housing report released by the Houston Association of Realtors, the median home price in Houston is about $322,000, while the average priced home sits around $416,000. But here's something important that most buyers misunderstand. The price of the home is not your payment. Your monthly payment depends on interest rates, taxes, insurance, and how much you put down. Let's look at a common scenario. Someone put down 20% on a medium priced Houston home. The typical principal and interest payment is about $1,560 a month. And here's the interesting part. That payment is about $161 lower than what it was a year ago. On top of that, affordability in Houston has improved in 15 of the last 18 months, which is something we didn't see during the rapid price increases in the early 2020s. And that improvement is one of the reasons many buyers are re-entering the market in 2026. Now, let's compare buying with renting. The average rent in Houston right now is about $2,230 per month, but the rental market has also shifted recently. Rental listings are up roughly 21%, which means renters currently have something they didn't have a few years ago: negotiating power. More inventory means landlords are competing for tenants again. So if you're asking yourself, should I rent first or buy right away? Here's the simple way I usually frame it. If your plan is to stay in Houston less than 3 to 5 years, renting often makes more sense financially. If you're planning to stay longer than that, then buying usually starts to become the better long-term move. Remember, if you do decide to rent first, that doesn't mean you're falling behind. It means you're being intentional. And if you want to be intentional with your move to Houston, shoot me a text. Now here's where the math changes for many buyers: property taxes. Texas doesn't have a state income tax, which is great, but the trade-off to that is property taxes tend to be higher than they are in many other states. In most areas around Houston, tax rates fall between 1.7 and 2.2%, depending on the school district and neighborhood. On a $322,000 home, you're typically looking at around $5,400 to $7,000 per year in property taxes. That comes out to roughly $450 to $580 per month. The key thing that I tell people is this: property taxes, they're not a surprise cost. They're simply a number you need to plan for. And once we've built them into your housing budget from the beginning, they stop feeling intimidating and just become part of the math. And if the home is your primary residence, filing a homestead exemption can reduce the tax value over time. Here's some good news. The Houston housing market itself has started to shift. Inventory is rising. According to the latest housing report, active listings are up about 15.7% year over year, which is roughly about 54,000 homes currently on the market. That means that Houston now has 4.7 months of inventory, which is noticeably higher than it was last year. And when inventory increases, buyers gain negotiating power. On top of that, homes are also taking longer to sell. We're up to an average of 66 days on market, which is the longest we've seen since early 2020. If you're a homeowner watching this and wondering if that means that the market is crashing, the answer is no. What we're seeing is that the market is moving towards a balance, and a balanced market means a healthier market for both buyers and sellers. Another interesting trend that we're seeing right now is happening on higher end homes. Homes that are priced over $1 million have actually seen sales increase by about 15.5%, while homes that are in the $250,000 to $499,000 range have slowed slightly. That confirms to us that Houston isn't collapsing. It's simply normalizing. Let's talk about three costs that relocation buyers usually don't think about before they move to Houston. And surprisingly, it's not property taxes, it's not homeowners insurance, and it's not even the price of the homes themselves. The three costs that most people underestimate are flood insurance, electricity, and transportation. Depending on the location of the home and whether the lender requires coverage, flood insurance is typically between $1,200 and $3,000 a year. But the good news is that flood history, and flood maps are both public information, and we can obtain insurance quotes before we close on your home. So this becomes a known cost rather than an unknown risk. Houston summers are hot, and during peak summer months, most households see electric bills ranging from about $150 to $300 per month. Here's something interesting that happens when people relocating from northern states hear that number. Many of them realize they're not paying more overall. They're simply trading winter heating bills for summer cooling bills. It's a different rhythm, the same math. The final cost people often underestimate is transportation. Houston is geographically large, with many people commuting across multiple suburbs or highways each day. So beyond your car payment, most households typically budget $250 to $400 per month for fuel and tolls, which leads us to one of the most important lifestyle questions I want you to consider. Do you want more space or less commute time? Because in Houston, those two things often move in opposite directions. Here's some encouraging news. Groceries and dining in Houston tend to run slightly below the national average, and the food scene here is incredible. Honestly, one of the best in the country. But affordability isn't just about housing prices. It's about whether you can live the lifestyle you want without constantly feeling like you have to say no to things. And Houston often gives people that breathing room. Another thing many buyers quickly discover when they move to Houston is that Houston isn't just one housing market. It's dozens of micro markets. Areas like the Heights and Midtown tend to have higher housing costs, but shorter commutes. Suburbs like Sugar Land and Friendswood, they offer quieter neighborhoods and more space. While communities like Katy, Cypress and The Woodlands, they offer master plan developments with extensive amenities. The mistake that I see so many people make, and I want you to avoid, is chasing the trendiest neighborhood. Because what matters more is simple. Where does everyday life feel easiest for you? By the time most buyers finish running the numbers, something interesting happens. They realize that Houston isn't just affordable, it's predictable. And when you understand your housing payment, taxes, insurance, and living costs, moving here stops feeling risky and starts feeling strategic. Houston's housing market in 2026 isn't a frenzy. Inventory is higher, negotiating power is returning, and affordability has actually improved compared to recent years. So the real question that I'm here to help you answer isn't just whether Houston is affordable. It's whether your plan for moving here makes financial sense for your timeline. And to get that figured out, just shoot me a text. I'll see you in the next video.